Greetings and welcome back, everyone. This is Into the Nexus, the podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. I'm Garrett Weinzierl, here as always with Kyle Fergusson, and the overlay's exploded. I don't know why the overlay exploded for the live crowd, but for the audio listeners, you have no idea. You also have no idea that sitting to my virtual right is our returning guest for today. Jhow is back on the program. Welcome back, dude.
Yo, appreciate you guys having me. Always fun to talk heroes with some folks.
Yeah, man.
It's always,
We're fresh off a new patch.
It's always great to have you in times of varying opinions because you're a strong person and you can lead the way.
I've spent a great deal thinking about the game, so hopefully something I say has some value somewhere along the way.
I believe that was the tease from Kyle last week. He's like, Jhow is coming, which means that there are opinions on next week's episode of Into the Nexus.
Well, not only opinions, like you actually went forth and self-declared your entire stream Valla mainage a week in advance. So if there's anyone to bring the multi-shot light or something else, we don't know, you'd be the one.
I was not strongly, but it felt like it had an air of scolding to the tone of text in Twitch chat. Told, why aren't you hungering arrow? I saw Jhow own some fools with Q build yesterday when they were watching me do some multi-shot Valla.
I think there's a place for it. There's some consideration for some things that I guess we could probably get into. Little do people know, on most of my accounts, like I don't play Valla. I didn't play Valla a ton, but I had like between multiple accounts, I had like a 62 to 65% win rate on every account on Valla. Like she's one of my highest win rate heroes. I just, she's hard to play solo queue because she's really squishy. She still is, but I'm no stranger to love of Valla.
So what you're saying is you're going to give her up eventually? I think I remember that song.
Probably never will.
Okay.
I'm probably never going to put her down or let her down.
Someone cue it. Somebody clip this and add that in there. So has Valla just been? I didn't know this about you. It sounded like you're saying that Valla's always been a bit of a passion of yours. So are you over the moon about the most recent patch?
I'll put it this way: as the first person of recollection that had an entire emote dedicated to stacks, as in stacks and heroes, and somebody who loves unlimited questing, I am not in love with unlimited questing on Valla. I'll put it that way. I love unlimited quest. It just complicates things, and it's so hard to balance. Look at Falstad's Q build for forever now. It used to be 2. Then it was 1, then it was 1.5. I mean, it's been all over the place. They've never been able to balance it. Although that one is much more difficult. And it's really hard to balance it. Butcher, anybody that has an unlimited quest is really hard to balance. And I think that they're either broken or they're going to be weaker, and then their other builds are going to be stronger. And that's why, to me, unlimited questing talents, I think, are very difficult for the game. You're either going to have a broken hero, or you're just going to have a hero that build's going to be subpar, and then they'll just play another build, and that talent never sees the light of day.
Okay. So there's this new idea called lone talents, where maybe someone like Raynor could be okay for a bit in the early game, and then with stacks, become the stacker machine that he promised to be at the start.
Yeah, lone talents are an interesting discussion for sure. There's a couple of heroes I really like them on Johanna and Stitches. The Raynor one, I that is the philosophy, is that Raynor has naturally been bad at the beginning of the game because he doesn't have talents to really make him good. So it's kind of, they're making sure that they're front loading it, similar to what they did with Cassia previously, or auto attack speed changing talents that they did with Cassia's rework a year ago. They're like, well, look, we have this level 20 upgrade that changes your attack speed, so we might as well give it to you at level 1, so you don't have to relearn the character that already had, I believe, one of the more awkward timing auto attacks at certain levels. It wasn't the traditional 1 per second. So I like that they're going in that direction. I'm just, again, stacking quest and unlimited stacking quest is really hard to balance as a result.
So are you? Where on the balance scale do you personally think Valla is landing? Because are you in the she's overpowered camp, or are you in she's overrated camp? Because there is a battle going on in the comments section of anywhere that Heroes of the Storm is talked about right now, and I believe it's those two camps.
I don't know. Okay. I don't know how anybody can not think she's busted. Like, I mean, obscenely busted. If you've ever, okay, let's take Hosty for example. Most people know who Hosty is. He one-tricked his way as Zul'jin through the ranks. If you have any decent ability to A move, hey, speaking of A move, nice channel we got here. But if you have any decent ability to just fight, like until you get to high diamond, low masters, most games are just all out brawls or that split push Azmodunking. But they're just all out brawls, which is the easiest thing to stack. Like if you're even good at auto attacking, you would play Zul'jin because you just outscale everybody. Like if you're finished with your stacks, like 30 stacks within 7 minutes, you've already outscaled the team, and the odds of you winning by level 15 are pretty high. Or not level 15, but by 15 minutes, which is pretty high, which is less than the average game time. And so you get into that same territory with Valla. There's not a lot of skill with smashing your W button on cooldown, where most games have the first 60 to 90 seconds of everybody A-ramming. And that doesn't really change until you get to a higher level. So even at the most basic low level or medium level, I feel an uncapped. And then you have the talents for Valla, which give you extra range even really early. That is one of the easiest quests I've ever seen to finish ever. Or not finish, but to stack. That is the easiest questing stack in the history of this game, other than just auto attacking a Zul'jin. But there is no, you can blind a Zul'jin, you can walk away, but you can't blind an ability that has a giant spread in range by level 4. And that's to me like why it's so hard to, like, how do you balance this? Like, it's free. It's literally free damage to an epic degree. So when we do get the next patch, they will nerf it to where it will do less damage per stack, and it'll go back to being the Q build, or the Falstad Q build, except it's going to be Valla W build, and nobody will play Valla as a result, and we'll have to look towards other builds on Valla. That's just how it's the freest build you could ever, the freest questing build I've ever seen in this entire game, ever, other than just getting globes, which you still have to go out of your way to do that, but it's tough. It's tough as a result. And I firmly believe Valla is busted because of it.
I'm interested that, because I don't disagree with anything you just said there. I think I'm just fascinating that the buzzword of counterplay never once got dropped in what you just said, because we've seen counterplay and like lack of counterplay cited as a reason for a lot of changes in the dev comments of a lot of the what I would say like modern HOTS patches. And yeah, so yeah, it sure does kind of seem like Valla is cruising for a nerf to that W build, because what counterplay is there? As you just kind of laid out, there isn't. Like, I don't know, don't get within half a screen length of Valla post level 4. Like, there's not really anything. The counterplay is kill the Valla, which is doable.
Focus Morales.
Think, yeah, I don't know. I realize that some of the conversation around Valla is overrated is coming from much like higher end players as well. It's not just lower end, but like I think for us mere mortals that are playing the game at home, I think there might be an overinflated sense of Valla is overrated coming from quick match, because you're probably just not seeing her much in a draft environment because she's getting banned left and right.
Exactly.
And then if you do see her in quick match and she's dying a ton, there's a very good chance that A, it's someone that's never played Valla, or B, it's quick match. And she's got no one watching her butt. Like, she's got no heals, maybe no frontline, maybe a lack of both. There's a lot of things that can go very, very wrong for a hero with a health pool as low as Valla's extremely quickly in a mode like Quick Match or ARAM.
Yeah, the health pool factor still remains. And the reason why I say, like, until you get to a higher level, the odds of you running, let's say you're plat 3, the odds of you running into a good Zeratul player that knows how to counter that style of play is slim to none. And there's a few heroes that do hard counter a Valla, and there's certain compositions that hard counter Valla. It means it's generally an aggressive style of composition. But if you're telling me you're running 3 melee of Muradin, I mean, heck, a Thrall, and any other bruiser in there. Yeah, they love to run at you, but they also run at you generally in a group and rarely have the mobility to flank like a Samuro or a Zeratul, which do counter them, or a Kira even, which it can be difficult if you miss. So these heroes are just gonna they basically play into the W build itself. So you have to find like more niche heroes that are easier to counter. And if you have to specifically pick a hero to counter another hero, and your hero, like if I'm a Brightwing and a Valla, and you pick a Zeratul, like, all right, good luck, man. Like you dive, I push poly on you, you die. Like that's just the way it is. Any decent Brightwing player knows how to press W on a point and click CC. So when you have to commit resources to countering one hero that might not be great for the map, where Valla is good in conceivably every situation. That's why I think at higher ranks, they're like, all right, it's not as bad. But anything below like Diamond 2, Diamond 1, most of those are scraps, and you're very rarely going to run into those heroes that or people that can counter it effectively in most situations. So it's the nature of the beast right now.
There's also the other side of things, which is we have the Valla, we win, and then everybody falls apart in frustration. So if you were to walk a team through what you would want when you got a hold of Valla in that first pick, I saw a Morales this week. I haven't seen a Morales in a very long time. What should they build?
What should the Morales build, or what should the draft build?
Yeah, what we got that first pick Valla. What does it need to function? Because it is so squishy.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, the one thing that you have to remember about heroes like Valla and Zul'jin is that they do have some form of burst damage, but they're generally just going to raw out damage and sustain and burst damage and everything. It's like I don't normally like if I am playing with an Anubarak and a Valla and an Uther, I'm a little worried because I don't know when and where my healing is going to come from. Those types of drafts scare me as a Valla player. Do I have protection in the form of an Uther in case somebody dives? Yes. Are there a lot of Uther players that know how to babysit? Probably not. But I love beefy front lines. Johanna, Stitches, Muradin. Anything that can slow you down from running at me, I'm totally fine. Like Garrosh, like basically any meta tank right now that literally can just stand there. I don't need you to dive. I'll do all the work as a Valla. You just hold the front line. And ideally, you really only need one of those, but anytime somebody wants to pair that, the reason why like a Malthael, for example, I wouldn't like a Malthael because Malthael's not stopping anybody from coming out. You can pick level 7 slow, but that's not doing anything. You can run right past a Malthael, and Malthael's primarily focused on their front line anyways. Heroes like that are a little more susceptible to allowing people there. But if you just tell me I have 2 beefy frontliner or just 1 beefy frontliner that can just press one button and stop people from running straight at me, I feel pretty good about that. In any situation for Valla, I still have movement speed. I still have my vault. I still have different ways. By the way, I'm also dealing the highest DPS output in the entire game. So good luck, you know. And then any healer that has some type of save button. Brightwing, I mean, I guess Morales to a certain extent with Safeguard. I'm not a big fan of Uther when I'm a hyper carry, unless that Uther knows that they're healer and not a suicide bot. And my biggest thing that I always have to say is that Valla, I have no self-sustain. I have no self-heal until 13, and it's minimal. Every other hero that I've mentioned, from Muradin to Johanna to Garrosh to all these people, they all have ways to heal themselves and or shield and get out of there. Keep them heals on me and we're good to go. Let those self-sustained beefy heroes just sit there and be the sponges for me, and I'll do the rest. That's literally it. When you're drafting for a Valla, you don't have to have the dive comp. You don't have to have the run at them comp. You literally just hold the line and let Valla do the work. I mean, she's a super hyper carry hero. And that's what she does. Like it's pretty straightforward. You don't have to do anything. You literally have to do the bare minimum of defense, and you probably have a high chance of winning at that case. I mean, that's just the way it is.
So your campaign is all heals to the Valla.
Yes, just Tyrande, Rhaegar, Lily. Just give me that triple healer comp.
I mean, it does sound
They
pretty
still do a
good.
little bit of damage, but they
Yeah.
just triple heal me. But no, I mean, Valla comps. You basically your other range. You don't want them to be a liability, like Hanzo, Kael'thas. Like those are generally liability heroes that have no mobility, very few save buttons. Kael'thas kind of does, but it's still Kael'thas. Um, but just don't have a liability on your team, and that's pretty easy to do. You can have one liability on your team, and that's it. Like if you have to spend resources saving somebody else due to dive mechanics like in a Nubarak and you're a Valla and you get counter dove, you're probably in trouble. That's probably like the hardest comp I would say, and one that I would generally try to stay away from. But even then, you're still broken hero, so you should be okay.
It's an interesting dynamic that I feel like across all MOBAs, tanks learn this very valuable rule. If I accuse other people first, it's not my fault. So when Diablo dives and dies, if he can type fast enough, where was my heals? This has propagated this world where the healer goes, oh, wait, what now? Oh, Diablo needs heals. Violet, hold still for a moment. I got to heal my tank.
Yeah. And the thing is, they all have some way of self healing. Like to be fair, a Zero Souls Diablo is not looking too hot in any form or fashion. But all those tanks, all those heroes, they have some type of mobility and some type of self healing that they should be okay most of the time with not hyper focused healing when you have a hyper carry. So you just hit them with the question marks in return. That's it. Just hit them with the question marks.
I've been in a special place of self control this week because I'm the worst Kerrigan on the planet. There's a button that says engage, and I click it because it
Oh
looks
yeah.
cool, and I fly through the air. I've been maining Cassia this week as a nice little experiment to myself, learning a little, DPS. And there's this button called Fend, you see,
Oh yeah.
that does nothing until maybe 16. Maybe I should press it then. Maybe.
Get some stacks at 16, yeah.
You were
Yeah, I
talking
gotta get
about
those
this on
stacks.
stream the other day.
Hey, I saw a Twitch clip from the CCL. I saw it wreck, and now I know to Fend at 16. But they're running away from me, and I have possibly even I do the other talent. The other half of that talent. It says in that 16 talent, Fend shoots lightning bolts. It also gets 2 extra stacks. It does this whole other thing, but your brain goes, time to click the bad button.
The way I would tell anybody to use Fend is use it as a finisher pre-16, not an opener, not a middle of the road. Like if you can get somebody down to like 10 or 5% health and your team's going to be able to follow up, sure. But Fend is normally a finisher.
Nice.
That's how I would say people to approach Fend.
Gotcha. Well, getting away from Valla for a little bit, do you have any thoughts on the other reworked heroes? Because we had like a suite of 5 of them. Besides,
I think that the Anduin rework might be one of the best reworks they've ever done in terms of balance. I'm a huge fan of the Anduin rework. It rewards you for being active. It doesn't overly punish you for not auto attacking and making use of the second part of your trait now. So I really like what they've done with Anduin. They've given him a well-balanced talent tree. Before, like when they buffed W build, they kind of made W build the play, and then the 16 talents are all really good previously for Anduin, so he felt stronger late game. So now they've given you that opportunity now to get a lot of that healing that you normally was backloaded in the game to now get it consistently throughout, and you get a bonus for playing well. So I think what they've done with Anduin has been great. The Johanna rework I'm a little sad about. I loved Johanna before. I think she's okay now. The lone talents are curious, and I do think she's very, very strong and tanky now. And a good Johanna player who knows how to use their trait, they're probably going to find a lot of success right now. And no matter what anybody tells you, Kyle, doesn't matter who, what, where, or when, Laws of Hope is still bad. All right. Like, don't let anybody out there tell you differently. I still really dislike Laws of Hope. But they did surround Laws of Hope by talents that weren't as good, so it does make Laws of Hope a little more appealing and less bad in comparison to other talents on the tier. But I do like some of the Johanna changes. Again, rewarding good active play. A lot of times for Johanna, it was, I'm going to blind you, especially people that would pick Sins Exposed at 4. I'm going to condemn you, and then I'm going to press punish on you. And that's just my combo. That's just how it works, which technically is bad if you're using your blind like that. But normally that was the combo, or WQ at most. Now they're rewarding you for making good plays. They're rewarding you for timing your punish better at level 7. They're rewarding you for being an auto attack hero as Johanna instead of a condemn bot. So they're doing a lot to keep the value for the heroes there, which I think is very important so that you're not drastically changing a hero, but rewarding you and giving you that bonus for being a better player. And so, like, I think they've done that pretty well with Anduin and Johanna. So I'd love to see more reworks like that. Stitches, it's something that this got brought up on stream. The thing with Stitches, anytime you add an extra button to a hero, you're now kind of having to retrain somebody. And Stitches technically has been in the game for almost 7 years, and all of a sudden he's got another button to press. So it will drastically change the way that's played. So that's a whole different beast. But in terms of like the Anduin and Johanna parts, I think are fantastic. I think they did an amazing job on those two. The other ones, got some minor I don't know. The Raynor one's a little disappointing. They nerfed his auto attack damage so much, but the Valla one, uncapped talents. But as far as everything else goes, I think they've done a great job. They're still encouraging people. If you are Stitches, run up there, hit buttons, auto attack people. It's actually really good. So they're doing a lot of good things to encourage people to be better players while not eliminating the core value of the hero.
That's an interesting way to put it. We have often begrudged the backline Stitches on this show, and is this a full-blown forced auto attack level? It is at 4. So you basically will have no level 4 talent unless you get up there and smack somebody.
Yeah.
Think of the value.
They're encouraging you to be better.
Think of the value.
And I love the Anduin. It's so active feeling because my position matters while I've got Leap of Faith. And then when it's on cooldown, I can be more aggressive and take advantage of auto attack talents. I get 2 stacks before 20, which is really nice. I'm still not really sure what the plan with Desperate Prayer is.
I love Desperate Prayer.
Yeah?
Yeah. So the level 7 talents previously were all self-healing, like self-shielding, self-healing, right? Which was fine. And there's 2 of the 3 are still that way, but it felt like as an Anduin, especially with the level 4, right, where you have an extra 1.1 auto attack range against certain teams, there's times where as an Anduin, I'm not going to take any damage at all. And any damage that I'm taking, I'm probably healing with my W by default. And so to give me an actual healing talent at 7, I love the fact that they moved Desperate Prayer to 7. I think it's amazing. So you get into those situations. Think about how many times, if you've played Anduin in the past, you throw your W out, your tank or somebody up there they're in there, and you press D and you pull them, and you see that divine star slowly coming. You're like, oh man, I hope this hits by the time their auto attack comes and travels with them as I pull them, or that little bit of damage that people are hitting them on their way back or on their arrival. Now you have an instant ability to just be like, bam, I'm pulling. Well, I already used my Q, my W's out, I pulled, and now I can smash my 1 key. Then you are healed, and now that W's on the way back, or some form of combination of those things. Now I have that ability to my pull now is no longer, well, I hope I pull you early enough, else you're probably going to die anyways. Or now I actually have extra buttons to be able to supply you with that instant impact to be able to save. So I love it there, because there's so many times as Anduin, it's like, I'm not getting a shield ever from this talent. I'm not barely healing myself because I'm not taking a whole lot of damage, despite how aggressive I'm playing and auto attacking. But now it's 6.6 range. Like, I'm not taking a whole lot of damage. So let me I'm telling you, like, the tree for Anduin. Like if I'm going against a dive heavy team, yeah, probably picking one of the other talents. But now, that's what I'm saying. Anduin's rework from top to bottom, from level 1 through 4, 7, 10, 13. Well, his heroics are still a little subpar, but 13, 16, 20. I think this has been one of the most successful reworks in terms of talent diversity, gameplay mechanics, keeping the core elements there, rewarding you for good gameplay. Anduin is literally the premiere of what you should look for in a rework. I think it's amazing what they've done with him.
That's
I'm a
awesome.
big fan of it.
That's really cool to hear, particularly because, of course, this past year we've invited in a new balance designer. We were very curious about what they were going to be doing with the game.
I do wonder how much of this stuff was in play and how much they've tweaked it coming into this patch. Because the lone talents are a very unique take on things, where at first glance they're a little worrisome. But there are some changes that I think just, I don't know, they're really, really good. And I think it's a positive direction. Just a couple of the things like the Valla uncapped talents thing. Valla before, man, I was a big fan of Valla before. I think she had good builds that could be used in different ways, and they had a hard time balancing the auto attack build. And now, don't go lone talents for Valla. That's dangerous.
So,
But if you can dance with the devil on that one, go for it. The uncapped talents are the hardest part for me.
yeah, like to a certain degree, it almost seems like they were trying to send Raynor down a similar path of like, you could go damage build or you could really go for like a laner Raynor build. And I like really do think they just stripped too much damage out of him for this to succeed.
Yeah. I am not a fan of. We've already endured the last 7 months of split push Azmodan, and it was, I believe, last November that they changed his level 7 talent to work even when the minion or hero dies to explode, because before that wasn't the case. And that's why it was bad. And then it was good that they were able to do that. And so we've dealt with split push Azmodan for months now. They've nerfed it. And then they reintroduced Suicide Raynor level 20. I mean, there's zero downside to that. There's zero downside to that.
Alongside Warhead Junction coming into the draft map rotation.
Yeah. I mean, you can just press W and walk away and get 2 minutes of value out of a level 1 talent. Like that's insane to me. It is actually insane to me.
What about one of the themes that kind of happened because of Johanna, a little bit because of Stitches, but the destruction of tank lane clear draft fixing?
I mean, I'm okay with that. I mean, Johanna is still like her level 4 talent that gives her better wave clear in comparison to what else is there is really bad. Like, I think if it wasn't competing with those talents, we might look at that talent a little differently to say it's not as bad. And Condemn, technically, unless I just didn't read the notes, still technically does bonus damage to minions, albeit that was nerfed several months ago. So I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all. Like Stitches, being able to auto attack and just AoE everything, I think is okay to be gone, but there's still talents to work that in. So you have to commit now to that stuff, and I'm okay with that. I mean, I don't know if there's really any tank now that has superior wave clear.
Yeah,
Pinball Wizard with ETC, I guess.
Yeah, they kind of preemptively reined in Stitches in this rework.
Yeah, there's still some backline Stitches players, which make you pull your hair out a little, probably. But overall, again,
yeah.
There was a game that I was in before Adam Jackson had left to go to another team, that we were in a game, and it was after they buffed Stitches' health again. And I was joking with him in draft chat. I said, "Are you guys ever gonna be able to balance Stitches?" Or encourage people to play Stitches in melee despite like these absurd health buffs that he constantly. I'm actually surprised he still has the health pool that he has. He's felt really strong since the rework. But I was joking with him. This was sometime last year. I'm like, are you guys gonna do something with him to like encourage people to stop playing backline Stitches? Other than just giving him a ridiculous amount of health. He's like, we're working on it. And that was it. I mean, it was just like I was poking fun at it. Now I see like maybe this is what they were working on last year, which is good to see.
Maybe. I mean, Stitches is up. I mean, it seems to be doing well. God, Kyle, when you and I just play for fun games, it's like all you've been playing. I've been behind you with
It's a good time,
and I have a great
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, slamming, the choice of alts. It's just, I'm slowing people for you. We're getting the picks as they run away for Valla, which is fantastic. It's an enjoyable experience. But previously, we did go in and do Falstad Lily, right? Like we abused with our game knowledge and our patch awareness.
Oh my God,
our
that was
quick
so much
match
fun.
games.
Yeah, dude. The last two patches is probably the most fun I've had in quick match when playing with you. Like,
Were you guys just running at people with Water Dragon and pressing W as Falstad?
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It's so toxic.
yeah. It was good. It was a good time.
If anybody ever ran at me with that, I would be upset. I would avoid you at all costs.
This was how we would have meetings before the podcast. That's what we would run. We'd go into a quick match and we'd talk about what we were going to talk about on the show for the day, while having a nice, relaxing duo queue quick match experience.
To be fair, I have to recover because I participate in NGS, previously participated in Heroes Lounge as an offlaner for my team, and Cavalier Guest is my drafter. So I play nothing but Hogger until the end of the night. And I actually ended up in one of your games on Hogger's last ride day, on the final day of interesting Camp Clear Hogger.
Interesting?
I stand by what I said.
That's an
last
interesting
episode.
choice of words.
Yes, because it bores me to tears, frankly. I'm so sad. I'm the management of the Fury moving from lane to camp and participating in that mini game made him all the more fantastic. And
Now
9
you're a
seconds
regular old hero.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry that you're not literally the best camp clear hero in the game with no one to challenge you.
Yeah, just keep bouncing back and forth. Surely somebody will kill you with all that armor and self-healing that you've got. And they can... Oh, wait, no, they can't even step on the point. Huh, it's crazy how that works.
I know. It's rough adding 6 seconds to that camp clear while I'm doing the exact same thing on the exact same angle. I know a gift horse in the mouth and all that, but I still haven't recovered.
If you're looking...
Still good is what you're saying.
Still great. I just have to be better at team fighting instead of just taking every camp ever on the map.
If you're looking for sympathy, I think you've come to the wrong place, Kyle.
I'm aware. Yeah. But it is an interesting overall theme because Sonya got something. Let's jump to Diva. So Diva got nerfed. Hogger got his camp clear nerf, kind of like a team fight, ease of play buff. Where does Sonya fall? Because it's really hard to tell.
It's been rough. So anybody that played Sonya before, I think, is going to have an easier time with this transition. Whereas if you didn't play Sonya before, you have to think. Like, if you go W build, you're level 4, you have to think about it. And because before you could get up to your proc stack on your 4th stack, you could leap W onto somebody, and most of the time you were Wing to prep your leap so that you could do instant burst damage, because leap's not a bunch of damage. So you would prep your W, ideally. You would leap, W, Q, W, and just get your autos in there, and you would do a ridiculous amount of damage while also CCing somebody. Now you have to be a little bit, more careful on how you do that, because you don't have the same type of burst damage. And if you're fighting in an area, just hitting a minion or hitting a wall to splash an obscene amount of damage, a ridiculously long line ahead of you, is no longer free. Which for a Sonya, there was so much free damage that was coming out without thinking. You just smashed your W button on cooldown and you would just aim it, and that's it. Now it forces you again. They're redoing some things that force you to think about the way that you play, which for a lot of people, you're just kind of out there smashing buttons to begin with, and things are for free. Now those people that are being forced to actively think about it. And if you're not one-tricking a Hogger like you are, you're going to miss the subtle nuances of some of the angles and the way that you prep. It takes experience to be better at these. And so one thing that I've seen from Sonya players since then is that they're still going the same build, but the results are drastically different. And when you look back at Sonya before they buffed W build, she was already coming back into the meta because Wrath is still really good and all her other builds are still very viable. They haven't been nerfed. They're still there. But people are still trying to run this in, and there was the ability to pick 2 W talents at 1 and 4, a heal talent at 7, since you no longer are playing around Whirlwind and having Wrath to hit Whirlwind and do all these different things to stay alive. So now you could go into more defensive talents. But now you do significantly less damage. You're still somewhat tanky, but you're not trading out as much. So the trades that you had before, you were always positively trading while being very difficult to kill. You were doing a lot more damage than you were receiving. Now you're on par with almost everybody else, where you can still stay alive, but you're putting out a largely different amount of damage in the negative fashion, and you're not trading the same that you were. So you weren't super tanky and doing a bunch of damage. You're now able to still be tanky, but your damage levels have dropped a good, I mean, I've seen people 30-40% less damage per game on a Sonya playing the same build, which brings up the question is, when are we going to start seeing Wrath back? Do we need to buff Wrath? Do we need to buff some of the other talents to remind people? They do this from time to time to remind people the other talents are good. Where Sonya is back to being with Leap more of a, if I'm in a coordinated environment like NGS and CCL, then I can get much more value out of Sonya because my team knows to follow up. I know I can lead with this. I can call it out. But now it's no longer just a one person like Sonya Stomp. Like, I can dive in, I can do damage, and I can get out. I don't need the help of any of my teammates. Now you need help again.
That seems healthy.
These are my thoughts. I share this concern. My biggest fear is that Sonya goes back to Whirlwind build because I think it's one of the most boring ways to play Heroes of the Storm.
Yeah.
I
Wrath,
really
Whirlwind, just try and stay alive.
Spin and hope. Like, it's just, it's such a boring, like, you get to make positional decisions doing slam build, and it's just not enough. Although if Valla somehow still stays in the meta post nerf and starts getting through drafts, I think Leap Sonya might be the answer. But that's a lot of ifs.
That is a lot of ifs.
That's a lot of potential things I think that need to fall into place. Because you were talking earlier, Jhow, about how difficult it can be to pull the flank off.
Well, that's one way to close the gap pretty quickly and keep them in place.
yeah. Sonya gets to just create a flank out of thin air, basically. But yeah, I've been a Sonya player for a long time, and yeah, I'm struggling with this as well. But I'm kind of just taking a break from her at the moment.
I agree that slam build is, with the level 4 talent, what you have to do to get more value out of that, like the amount of effort you're putting in versus the value you're getting in return, is nowhere near the same anymore.
Yeah, it's not even close. But I mean, Sonya was on top. I mean, everyone who got hit with a nerf was essentially, like, it was obvious who they were coming for.
Yeah.
Is everyone sitting on top of the win rates? So it's like, I don't know. When we talked about it when the PTR patch went live, we were here on the show. I was like, hey, listen, hi everyone, biggest Sonya fan in the world. She deserves it. Like
Sonya, Diva all deserved it.
Yeah,
we did.
They really
it's true.
They
but
really
I can
did.
still bomb on Infernal Shrine. So you know what? The Diva thing, the camp clear. I'm a little, but yeah, I'll be okay. I've still got my bomb. I've still got my triple shot if I can survive to take it. I'm all right.
Yeah, the self-destruct damage wasn't touched at all. I think we talked about this a little bit last week, but yeah, like the fact that your self-destruct is still scary as hell. Like, it's a big part of being impactful on Diva. So you still got that.
My itch and my thing I must share is, don't help me. I have a splash auto attack. I can hit the bomb. Please don't watch me do this Infernal Shrines. I'm okay.
Diva, at least, it's weird because Diva has been. I mean, think about the original Diva rework and how many nerfs she's had since then, and how she was still slightly OP. Now, I think she's like on the fringe of either being very well balanced or slightly undertuned, and I think that's okay, given that they've nerfed everybody around her. I think that she's mostly balanced and maybe a little undertuned right now, which is kind of weird to say because I don't think they did anything crazy. It's just like that's how thin the margin is to feel good about play. I mean, you can't just spam Diva on every map now, but I don't know. I think Diva's in a good spot. I think Diva's probably in the best spot she's ever been in, at least.
I mean,
It's that toolkit. You know, it's like buffing. Well, Junkrat. No, it wasn't too weird this time, but for me, you know, I go ba-doo, 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 and fire my grenades, and my brain kind of goes, "Oh, well, what was that? I'm sad now. I don't want to play this hero anymore." As opposed to like Chromie, who also sets up things and then goes, "Well, bam." But I don't want to live in a world where Junkrat has sight control and silences and roots and all these things and kills me with damage.
He secretly has like if Junkrat's so hard to play, I think for a lot of people because there's so many things to manage, but his auto attack damage is really high and it's an AoE auto attack. I think that's one of the most surprising things that always kind of exists for our boy Junkrat is how much his auto attack damage is, and they keep buffing his grenade. As you said, like there's going to be a time where eventually you're going to cross that line and he's going to be broken while also still having all of it, as you said, the vision and the silences and all that stuff. And everybody's going to be like, huh, I did not want this meta. And now here we are.
I think I have not seen much of him. I did finally run into some Junkrats this week. But again, when we previewed the patch when it was on PTR, Kyle, you said that you were really afraid of ending back up in a Junkrat meta because you weren't the biggest fan of the previous one we found ourselves in. They'll change the big as 1S everybody at level 7. I think this might be one of the most annoying changes in the history of Heroes of the Storm.
Is that the one where the traps no longer hit
They only hit
anything
heroes.
except for you?
Yeah, they now only hit heroes. There's just no, go back, 20 minutes we were talking about W build Valla, there's no counterplay. There's literally no counterplay. The trap just sits there forever.
Just it looks at you and it's like you want to play because I'm down to play. Like before, you could at least kite it into something, but now,
You
yeah,
remember,
that can be pretty annoying on point control maps.
Yeah, you remember my Fen comment and my Kerrigan comment. I see that trap. I'm Johanna. I should probably hold on to Iron Skin, you know? But I'm like, ooh, I could go step in it. Maybe I'll save somebody someday. You know what? I'm gonna go step in it real quick. I've got this.
It's a terrible feeling when you have to intentionally eat it and you're like, I hope I picked the right time for this. And if not, I'm never gonna be able to engage. Oh wait, that other trap is now here. There's some very peculiar ways to play with Junkrat now. Luckily I haven't seen since the patch in my games, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. We're getting. It's kind of like when they finally got to a point where they buffed Raynor, Secret Weapon enough on Falstad, where Secret Weapon has been a meme for a long time. They've had to buff that thing time and time and time and time and time and time again, and then all of a sudden it crossed that threshold of like, whoa, 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 this is actually really good now. Those thresholds are very scary. You toe the line, but that one step further might be the last step you take because all of a sudden you're falling off that cliff, and it's like we're gonna have to completely rewind this whole thing and look at it all over again. That's how it gets. And again, I don't want a Junkrat meta. I don't. I'm perfectly content with letting those Junkrat one tricks cause some chaos, and that's enough for me. I don't need chaos. I don't need vision control. I don't need silences. I don't need bombs everywhere, and I don't need a ton of damage on top of it. I'll take 2 of the 3, please.
Speaking of chaos, Azmodan Lucio. What What's going on here? Lucio's got a bug, which is rather
Yeah.
extreme, and causing him to have a higher pick rate than perhaps he normally would. This is high 5 at 20, going on a 6-second cooldown. Johanna's also got a bug. Falling Sword deals, is it double damage, kind of like our Zool rework? It just
Like double stun or something. Or double the stun. I can't remember what it was. Nobody's playing Johanna. Feels like oddly enough though. I still think she's good.
Yeah.
But well, you already have the mustache, but an evil Jhow, aside Jhow, is playing a lot of Azmodan. What's going on there?
All right, look, I'm gonna be honest with you. I like auto attack heroes. Okay. Now I made a video about Azban over a year ago about Wrath build, which is the green talent, which is auto attacking heroes under 75%. You get a stack, and then after 200 stacks, when you dunk somebody and then auto attack them, you do 75% of your wrath damage to them. So you cap at 400, and eventually you get 300 bonus damage on who if you dunk somebody and you auto attack them. And I thought, man, that's pretty strong. I mean, unfortunately, it doesn't like if that damage scaled, we'd be in some crazy town right now. But it's still 300 bonus damage that you're getting off an auto attack. And then I started looking into it, and then battle momentum talents can be really good. And then bombardment at level 7 splits your auto attacks into 3 and gives you a ridiculously long range and gives you bonus stick. Meaning, like, there's rarely a game where I'm not at 400 stacks by the time, like, if it's been more than 13 or 14 minutes and I'm not fully stacked, it's been a rough game. And that's just from auto attacking, right? So I thought about this for a long time and I played it to a somewhat successful degree. And then this patch, they buffed the scaling on globes from 2.5 to 4%. Now, finally, like every other hero in the game. So I thought, well, let's kick the tires on the old Azmo and see if I can dunk on some fools and do some damage. And it's a lot of damage, all right? It's a lot of damage, first and foremost. And everybody's like, well, it's not sustain. And I almost never, if you ever watch me play, I almost never use my laser. Unless it's to confirm a kill, I never use it. Why? Because Battleborn at level 4, my battle momentum, if I dunk, your W's on a 10-second cooldown. If I dunk and mind you, I think you get like 1.75 or 1.5. I think it's 1.75 second cooldown on your W. If I auto attack 3 things, pretty easy to do. Twice, I now have several seconds of cooldown reduction because that split auto at 7 counts as 3 separate auto attacks that trigger 3 separate times on my level 4, which is pretty self-explanatory. And so there's another talent at level 4 where you spawn 2 demon warriors, but increase the cooldown by 10 seconds. I mean, 20-second cooldown to cast it basically 2 times at the same time. And the thing about this is that I can just dunk once and auto attack twice, and I have 9-second cooldown reduction. Like, I don't need, or it's 1.5 seconds, right? So it's 4.5 seconds if I hit 3 things. If I hit 2 things, that's 9-second cooldown reduction. 1 auto attack per second. By the time I'm done with my second auto attack, that's 10 seconds. That's literally a 10-second cooldown. So I literally have to auto attack, dunk, auto attack W, auto attack twice, and I press W again. And so I have 2 Ws. I literally have a free level 4 talent. The other part about that is that it also affects your trait. There's rarely a game that I'm not top in XP because I just press D through the minimap and it's soaking. So now I'm on a hero that is easy to do damage on. I'm on a hero that is a global soaking hero, that is a split pushing hero without ever having to leave, that if we ever get an advantage, I have cooldown reductions so that I can have my own mini demonic invasion without having to pick a heroic for it. All those tools that everybody's been playing Azmodan with already exist by picking other talents. And once they changed the scaling on it, I thought, well, let's see if the damage is really worth it. So 400 stacks, 300 bonus auto attack damage. Now, the fact that doesn't scale, it's much better at 14 minutes in when I'm done versus a 20-minute game that has gone on. That 300 damage hasn't changed. I think it's really good right now. And I know at higher levels it's going to be weird. And the other part about that W talent with Battleborn is that there's two talents at level 13 that are both good. One of them is to empower the minions, and you can split push in a fight, and just you can get two of those out, and all of a sudden you've taken a keep by not even existing there. The other one is there's a 25% slow on that. If you can tell me I can press W twice in less than 10 seconds to slow a tank from engaging on me or slow a team from getting it, I think it's good. I think it's great utility. And so I really think right now there's an Azmodan meta that should and could exist at multiple levels. And now that we've seen the demonic invasion nerfs and a lot of split push people are still trying it, even though it's significantly worse. I still think that there's an Azmodan build out there based on the 1, 4, and 7. Everything after that is a bonus. But and it's also a lot easier to stack 2.5 to 4%. I've noticed. Normally I would be in this weird scenario depending on stacking speed that I would still need to auto attack a few times on a wave when it's like level 11, level 13. Now that I have my heroic, now I'm dunking and I'm just insta clearing the waves. And it's totally fine. And then whenever I'm in a team fight, I never feel like a liability. I feel like I'm impacting several fights. It's easy to follow up damage on. It's easy to hit level 16% damage versus tanks. I mean, I haven't found the downside because I still have a tank health pool. Look, right now I'm in love with Azmodan. I'm gonna one trick this hero all season, and I don't care. I think the old build was good. Now that they've buffed it, he now has the damage to justify it. And if there's a game that I'm in and I don't have most siege damage, hero damage, and XP in the game, I probably had a bad game. But every game is like winning on all major statistical categories as Azmodan right now. It's insane. I love him.
It sounds like so you're having a good time post patch. It seems like.
I mean, I can sit there and just dunk people. You can't kill me. I have over 2,000 health as a ranged assassin. Like, what are you gonna do? Dive me? I'm basically like a melee hero. You can't kill me.
Yeah.
Like, you can't stop me from dunking on you. You can't stop me from slowing you post 13. So you can't run at me. And if I don't feel threatened, I just go global talent and I just split push when you're not there, and I'm not even there, but I'm winning. Like, you don't even know that I've casted my trait. But I'm winning, and you don't even know it. Like, it's so insane. Like, you're never out of the game as an Azmodan as a result of that 13 and level 4/7 combo.
Yeah, chat. We'll put the build together for you later. This is off the cuff conversation. We don't have it at the ready for you. But
those are some good Charlie Sheen quotes there.
I love Azmodan, man. I think he's so much fun to play right now.
I'm not even there, but I'm winning.
I mean, his win rate's on the rise on the stat sites. You know, he's looking in and like he's really in a healthy spot. So that's good. I'm happy for
what
you.
Is his win rate right now?
On hot slogs at the moment,
almost 56%.
I think he's 5th place overall. Let me
filter it by the his popularity 36%.
That's high for Azmodan. That's
yeah,
high.
Dude, it's crazy. Yeah. Like, he's so good right now.
35% popularity, 55.8% win percent. That's he's getting banned too. His ban counts go on an upward trend.
Yeah, tell me about it.
If you weren't doing so well, I'd feel sorry for you because you also have to contend with not getting to play the Valla you're stoked about.
People are just banning Valla and Azmodan, or they're first picking Azmo. If I'm second pick, I cry.
Well, that'd be our final conversation about kind of the balance, which is where are the bans? Obviously Valla, but what's kind of our go-to for?
It's so hard because until we get bug fixes, it's so hard to decide.
Sure.
Outside of bugs of Lucio and Johanna, which I think Lucio is very common right now, and Valla, Mei, I still think Mei is a really strong character. Like, she's much better at higher levels, mostly because those people aren't spamming their W on minions and doing 100 damage to a minion, and they're making sure that they have it for their combo. Pro tip for anybody that's playing Mei, your W and your E combo really well together, and your Q to slow them first so you can hit them with your W and then press E into them. It's an amazing combo. But if you press W on your minion wave, you don't have a combo anymore.
Wait, did you say
Understand the concept of not spamming W on minion waves?
no?
Um,
I'm
if
okay
you
with
really
that. I'm okay with that. You don't have to convince me. Do you icing first and then drop the W? Is that for the slow?
like you can queue to like get somebody in position so that you can reposition and then make sure that you can then get your W. So your W takes a second to tick on them, right? So it's kind of like a Malfurion route to where it's like, I don't know the actual timing on the Maze slow, but like Malfurion route is like 0.35 seconds before the route actually hits. And that is from the middle, whereas Maze, of course, is like the whole radius. So your Q allows you to slow them to reposition so that you can W from a correct angle so that you're in position to use your E. You don't have to use your Q to slow them because you can just WE anybody realistically. But your Q having a slow on it allows you to reposition so that you can create an angle to much more easily combo what you're looking for. It's not required to QWE, but your WE, of course.
Gotcha. Okay, I was making sure because I thought for a hot moment there was an icing slow first, and then that 80% rapid decay slow would get them in the blizzard, and I'd been doing it wrong the whole time. But I'm good. I'm okay.
I mean, there's multiple ways to do it. Just QWE is really strong, or just WE in general.
Awesome. Well, I have a feeling
Which
we're gonna hear from some folks that you converted over to the Azmodan side after this episode.
It is
I
exciting.
hope I don't see too many because I want to play it. Just let me do it.
Okay, all right. ITN folks, if you see Jhow in your game,
They're
pass
already
the
banning
Azmodan
it.
over.
Even on my Smurfs, they're banning it.
Well,
They see it coming.
Hopefully they're on your team. Hopefully they're on your team.
Yeah, I know.
All right. Before we move into Q&A, I feel like we got to like at least take a minute and talk about the fact that they just announced that there's once again no BlizzCon this year officially. Makes sense. I wasn't really holding out hope for it, but still kind of bummed. I like just got vaccinated, and I was kind of hoping, daydreaming about sharing a beer in a common social area with my good friend Kyle here, who I never get to see. Maybe Jhow, if you were there,
It would be nice.
listening to the loud DJ.
Hey, how you doing?
Hope
There's
no
All
one
right,
needs,
we're done
wall.
talking. Can't hear anymore.
all of us talk for a living. Hope we don't have to talk tomorrow.
I feel so
Yeah,
bad
I
for
know.
anybody just checking in casually, like walking up to that desk nearby and being like, "Hey, I'm here for a work meeting."
We booked this to go to Disney with my family. What's going on?
Yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't surprise me too much. Still bummed to hear that there's not going to be an official Blizzard get together there this year. But yeah,
Do we think with the announcement, because they said there's going to be like small in-person events at the beginning of 2022? Are you guys into? So I don't know if you remember. What was the WoW expansion in 2016?
in 2016, is that Legion?
Yeah, Legion. Yeah, so they did like Legion watch parties all over the place. Because I remember I was at Gamescom that year in
Oh wow,
Germany,
that's
and I
good to
remember
hear,
they did
dude.
like a release party. I believe they had them in other places. I wonder if they have like release party maybe for one or two games planned for early 2022, and that's like their whole like small in-game, like they'll do like a small thing. Like I understand it buys them time for all these like Overwatch 2, like that's not what this podcast is about. Clearly that's been delayed. Diablo 4
Oh
is still
yeah,
a ways away, so I imagine that they're probably going to have something there, and it buys them time and gives them an excuse. So it's like a PR nightmare of Corona 2020, but at the same time, like I feel like it gave a lot of PR people an excuse to be like, well, look, man, like we wanted to, but this, when in reality they probably weren't on track to have anything major anyways. So I think
yeah,
we're still looking for a good year and a half from now to have some solid stuff, but I think it
yeah.
makes sense why there's no BlizzCon. Disappointing, I'm sure, for most people in the community.
Yeah, I was talking with folks on social media about this yesterday, but like for me, I think it real boils down to the fact that it's an international draw. Like people come from every corner of the globe, and while we're fortunate enough in the States now to have basically full access to vaccines if you want one, that is not the case everywhere.
Yep.
So I they didn't say that was the reason, but I would have to imagine that played a role. Like that they were sitting around
Oh
going,
yeah,
all right,
and,
what is
again, it's a
vaccine
built-in
rollout?
excuse.
Yeah.
Like whether that is the excuse or whether it's just a way that they can use it. Like I mean, it definitely has an impact. So like no matter what, I'm not upset at all. I fully understand. And until anything can get back there, like I looked at stuff. I want to say like the week before BlizzCon is normally there. VidCon, which is like for YouTube, I think is at the Anaheim Convention Center like the weekend before or right around that same weekend that BlizzCon would have been there. Whether scheduling conflicts had anything to do with that or not, I don't know. But I was actually just looking at that this past week or this week. I don't know what day it is.
Yeah, I
Yesterday,
mean, there's been, I want to say for like the last 2 or 3 years, there's a dedicated team at Blizzard that like it's all BlizzCon.
Oh, yeah.
That's their job. So once that team spun up, I was like, okay, I guess BlizzCon's happening every year, whether they have announcements or not. And it certainly seems like that's been the case with the past, because it's been a long time since they took an off year, and you go back to what was the Diablo Immortal year 2018, where everyone was grumpy about not enough to announce. It's like, they do BlizzCons as much for just the social gathering as they do for when they have announcements. So yeah. I look at this and go, yeah, I think this is just entirely, the whole world isn't at the same, we're not at the same vaccination
real quickly
level.
As a Diablo fan, did you guys get to play Immortal during the alphas?
I played it at BlizzCon. I didn't get into the alpha.
Oh my god, it's so good, man. It's so good.
Solid
it
freaking
is.
game.
The first alpha was like okay. This last alpha that we're currently in, they've done. I'm blown away. I am gonna be disappointed because a lot of people probably aren't gonna play it because it's mobile. But in terms of depth for a game in Diablo,
I disagree.
It's so good.
I think everyone's gonna play it and pretend like they're not playing it because they talk
Exactly.
so much smack when it got announced.
It's free. You don't have an excuse not to at least try it. I mean,
yeah. Everyone, Mr. Red Shirt asking, is this a joke? He's playing it. He's gonna be in there. I mean, the day friggin' one. Be like, he's gonna be like, oh damn, this is some Diablo ass Diablo. Yeah. It was fine. It was fine.
I think it's phenomenal.
Fine. Yeah, I'm not. I've never been a big mobile gamer, but I mean, I played that build, and that it's Diablo. It's just on your phone. Like,
I was watching you play Candy Crush before we went on. Please don't lie to the people.
Oh, yeah, you outed me, Jhow. Thanks, man. Thanks. I appreciate that.
Isn't King owned by Activision, by the way?
They are. Yeah. Well, there was that
keep
bit.
feeding them our money.
we talked about it over. I have my other Blizzard love, Hearthstone. We talked about over on the Hearthstone show this week, that IGN article, which I've been calling the IGN novel. It's one of the longest articles I've ever read on IGN about all the departures from Blizzard. It kind of takes a historical look and gets a ton of interviews from people who will tell you their name and also a bunch of unattributed quotes. But we were talking about that, and yeah, it's just one of the points that the author of that article points out is that, hey, of the three big companies with like Activision, King, and Blizzard's making the least amount of money. And one of the quotes that stuck with me was something, and I don't have it in front of me, so I'm just talking off the cuff. But they said like, hey, when you're bringing in the money, you get to set the culture, and Blizzard ain't bringing in the money right now, and that's why we're probably seeing a culture shift. I'm like, yeah, it's a good quote. It's quotable. How accurate it is.
It fits.
Yeah, mileage may vary, but certainly seems to be the case. But back to the live event thing. That's speaking of Hearthstone. I can't believe this didn't come up, but it's interesting. You're talking about like launch parties for Blizzard games might be a sign that there's that'll be the sign that BlizzCon's coming. Fireside gatherings were like this ongoing in-person Blizzard event, all over the world, and tons of them, hundreds of them in the States for Hearthstone. And yeah, those have been gone for a long, long time. So maybe when those start firing back up, maybe that's a good sign too. It's like, ooh, we got some Hearthstone.
What was the trailer today, by the way?
It's the mini set for Hearthstone.
Okay.
Drop in next
I didn't get a
week.
chance to watch it yet. I just saw it shortly before we went live on social.
Yeah, they're doing those mid expansion mini sets where like you just pay a flat. I think it's $14.99. Don't quote me. I haven't drawn up my show notes for the Hearthstone show yet. But
Are you saying that I should tune in for the Hearthstone podcast that you have?
Yeah, man. You should
that?
listen. It's called The Angry Chicken. You can find it wherever podcasts can be found. Go give that.
How about that?
Not here
How about
not here to show.
Convenient.
Not here to shill my own show. I am here, however, to shill our Patreon, which we haven't said thank you to our patrons, but we do want to say thank you because we pay our guests for their time, and we couldn't do that without you. If you like the show, like what we're doing, head on over to patreon.com/ITN and consider chipping in. And to our most recent patron, Mark Mellenbacher. That's how I'm going to choose to pronounce that one. Thank you very much, Mark, and welcome to the party. If you go to patreon.com/ITN and become a supporter of this here podcast, you will get access to all sorts of perks like our patron-only Discord, but also get to sign up for our monthly game nights. We call them the Patron Bonanzas, and we are doing one next Thursday. We'll break after the podcast, go eat, and then we'll come back and play a bunch of games with y'all. So, patrons, go sign up. It's going to be a good time. But now, Jhow, before we let you go, want to do some Q&A. Pick your brain about what our listeners want to know. You know, not just us asking you how to play Azmodan. So
Auto attack.
Anyway, Selric wants to know, hey, being a Valla main, is there anything specific you expect out of your healer? Other than all the heals, I guess is the hidden text there.
Yeah, so I think for any healer main that's out there, the one thing that you always want to remember is that Stitches at 50% health still has more health than Valla at 90% health, okay? So if you're trying to choose who, and not only that, but Stitches has a giant heal button on his E. So if you're trying to figure out who to heal, like let's say you're at 70% and your tank's at 40, 50% at Stitches, you should probably still heal your Valla. If a fight turns and you have to pick one hero to save that could potentially turn the fight around, do you think that's going to be your Stitches or do you think that's going to be your Valla? And as a healer, man, those are things that I think you should consider in terms of prioritizing heals to enable your carrier and to also understand the difference in values of health pools. That's normally, like, there's nothing that hurts me more than watching a Malfurion put a hot on an 80% Johanna when I am at a 90% Valla. It's like she has blinds, trait, all this stuff to stay alive. I have nothing. Like 13 is not enough to keep me alive. Just remember that I need a little bit more delicate handling than every other character in the game.
I believe you have dead opponents. That's how Valla stays alive.
Exactly.
Yeah. Heal Valla. If you take one thing away from today, besides an Azmodan build, heal Valla.
Just learn your priorities for healing.
Yeah.
When it comes to looking at health bars, the 60% Johanna, totally fine. 70% Valla looks good. A lot of green there, but that's technically significantly less health as a result. Just always know the difference.
And Twitch chat, by the way, get in on this. If you have any questions, drop them. I'll pull some into the notes here. LDAP wants to know: does Jhow plan to continue to keep up those spreadsheets, especially with this new meta?
I've been doing them for over 4 years now. And I actually just updated links to the new reworked heroes for builds to the site. And links to the videos for the new ones. I think I gotta redo Stitches still, but so I am to a certain degree, but much like most people, I have to allocate time towards other things now to pay the bills. And doing those spreadsheets, if I were to redo them in the normal, they take 2 to 3 hours. And 2 to 3 hours right now is kind of hard to come by. So if I do, I'll get to them. If not, they're still mostly up to date.
Their answer.
So we'll see. To be determined.
The content is it's a constant struggle of.
That's always been a community thing, right? Like I don't get paid for making a spreadsheet. It doesn't generate any revenue. It's just been because I love the game, and and I have to, still, I'm still a human. I still have to pay bills the same way everybody else does. And so committing time to that stuff as a community thing has been more difficult. So if I do it, I do it. If I don't, I don't. I would like to, but I don't want to make any promises on whether I will or I won't. If I do, then I do. I'll leave it at that.
All right. From Twitch chat, Psych Sensei is getting back on the Azmodan conversation from earlier and wants to know who you would say counters Azmodan. And if you don't want to answer this question, I think I would understand you not wanting to put that information out into the world.
I actually have an answer, and you might not like it. Nobody. Nobody counters Azmodan. The only hero that I would think would counter, there's 2 tanks, Mei and Garrosh, because they can take advantage of your slow cast animations. Those 2 heroes are generally pretty good against animation style heroes, but like the level 7 talent for Azmodan says that I don't have to get very close because I can just auto attack forever. And then if I go level 13 slow, like I'm playing against a Garrosh, I'll probably go slow at 13. You can't walk at me anymore. Whereas Mei, probably the only one, and a Akira, believe it or not. Akira, I think, is great. It's really easy, again, to hit a slow cast animation hero with your tether. I have no mobility to get away unless I'm 16 and I go trample, which I don't normally do. And she can get on top of me and punish me as a result. But other than that, nobody.
So not global heroes, no Dahakas, no false dads to like catch you doing your business in another lane. Or actually, you don't even play that.
Never
style,
in that
so.
lane. Yeah. I don't split push.
Okay.
Once I hit level 7, so there's tricks to kind of doing it right in terms of like how and what to auto to make sure you trigger all 3 procs of bombardment. Like if I'm walking up to a gate and the wall's still up, easy 3 stacks. It'll spread the damage out onto all 3. So I want a QW. So there's a small delay between pressing Q and auto attacking, but there is no delay between pressing Q and W. And I put my W on quick cast, my Q is not. So if you QW instantly, by the time your auto attack animation goes out, your W is out and it already has reset the cooldown. Therefore, as soon as you hit, you're getting 4.5 seconds of cooldown off a 10-second ability. I auto attack a second time. That's 9 seconds plus the 1 second that I had to auto attack. And I basically have 10-second cooldown by the time I get 2 auto attacks out. It's like 2.5 autos. Basically, it's technically like an extra half second. And I cast W again. And now I have 2 Ws out there. And I generally put my trait in another lane. But if I'm hard pushing a lane, I'll double W and D. And you always want to put your D and your W down before your bombardment procs hit. That way you get maximum cooldown reduction on all 3 of those autos that are going out multiple times. And therefore, I'm never really split pushing because my trait's going somewhere else. And if I'm here, I'm generally in the 4-man. I hate split push Azmodan. I think it's a waste of time for everybody.
There's not really clear standouts too, either looking at stats. Like he has more than a 50% win rate against
his health pool is so high.
Almost every hero. It looks like with actual games played, like Kerrigan and Cassia, it looks like he has a below 50% win rate against.
Cassia could probably get you, yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna eat that.
I mean, if Cassia pulls you in with her Valkyrie in your slow animation, that probably is not good for you.
Yeah, same with like hey Kerrigan, you want to learn how to land your combo? I've got a good target for you.
Look, all these stats, and I'm looking on HOTS logs. There's a lot that say to go e-build, but I think these other people just aren't playing auto attack Asmo, right?
I mean, yeah, I'm filtering by most recent patch. Every talent at every level has above a 50% win rate. Like
he's really, I mean, when you buff the globe and you don't really, because once they buff the E talents, again, I think it was like November of last year.
It's been a
once
while,
they buff those to trigger, even on death, because before they didn't do that, so therefore they're really bad talents. Once they did that, like Azmodan just kind of blew up. It was like those are just quality of life changes. They weren't necessarily, I mean, technically they're buffs, but they were just kind of the way that the talent functioned. They didn't change the numbers on it or anything. They just changed the way it functioned, and made Azmodan infinitely better.
What a delightful
especially at level
surprise.
7.
We thought we were going to come on here and just talk Valla, and here you are, like building an Azmodan.
The one true
church.
OP hero, Azmodan.
Came with a secret. Uh, well, awesome. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for this show. Thanks for hanging with us again, Jhow. Appreciate it.
I went through an entire glass of water. I think I talk a lot, but it's a blast, man. It's normally me Twitch chat and whatever's going on in game. So to be able to sit back and chat about all the things that I think about, it's nice, man. So I appreciate you guys having me.
We got to.
It was a pleasure joining us. Yeah,
make our own, BlizzCon lobby talk. So we'll do it. We'll do it over Discord, apparently. Well, folks out there, again, shout out to our patrons. You like the show, you want to support it, check out patreon.com/ITN. And speaking of which, we want to give a big thanks to our Patreon producers, Declan H, Cheesy Bob, Chris K, Sean B, and C. Michael R. Thank you very much, everyone. If you want to catch us live, we are live Thursdays at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on twitch.tv/AMoveTV. You can follow the show on Twitter, find out when we're going live, see if we change the schedule or something, at ITNcast. Before we go, Jhow is our guest this week. If folks are unaware of where they can watch you being the best Azmodan you can be, where can they catch you?
Just everything Jhow, man. Twitch.tv/Jhow, where if Azmodan's available, I'm picking Azmodan first pick all day, every day.
Awesome. You can also follow him on Twitter at RealJoshHoward. Kyle, what about you, dude? You do more than just ITN.
You can find me, you can still find me playing heroes over at twitch.tv/Kyle Fergusson, which is home of Do Not Fend Self-Control at the moment. But when I'm not doing that, I'm playing Dungeons and Dragons. And you can find that over at kyleferguson.com. All the links to all the DM stuff I do, teaching dungeon mastering for 5th edition with DM Gives Inspiration.
I'm Garrett Art on Twitter. You can find me on there tweeting out all kinds of nonsense. Other than that, this podcast and every single other one that I produce, including that Hearthstone podcast that we mentioned, The Angry Chicken, can be found over at amove.tv. That is AMOVE.tv. Go check it out. See all the other shows that I'm out there making, all the other things I've got opinions about. But that's going to wrap it up for this episode of Into the Nexus. So until next week, and reminder, patrons, go sign up for that Patreon Bonanza game night. Have a good one, everybody. Good luck. Have fun.